19.
19. Yeah. Okay. Manasaivaasrjat purvam
Manasya
मनसैवासजपूर्वम्
prajapatir imah praja.
प्रजापतेर इमाम प्रजा
Praja, devasura manusyadin
देवासुरमनुष्यादीन्
nabha sthala jalaukasa.
नभः जलौकशः
With his mind, Prajapati Daksha first created all kinds of demigods, demons, human beings, birds, beasts, aquatics, and so on. Tam Abrahmitam Alokya
तम् अभ्रम् आलोम् आलोक्य
Praja Sargam Prajapati
प्रजासर्गं प्रजापति
Vindhyapadan Upavrajya
विन्ध्यपादान् उपव्रज्य
So Acharad Dushkaram Tapa.
सोऽचरत् दुष्कृतं तपः
But when Prajapati Daksha saw that he was not properly generating all kinds of living entities, he approached a mountain near the Vindhya mountain range, and there he executed very difficult austerities. Uh, तत्राघम तत्राघम मर्षणम नाम
अर्शनं
तीर्थम पाप हरम परम
तीर्थं पापहरं परम्
उप उपस्पृश्यानुसवनम
प्रज्ञानुसवनं
तपसातोषयद धरिम.
तपसात्
Near that mountain was a very holy place named Agamarshanam. There Prajapati Daksha executed ritualistic ceremonies and satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, by engaging in great austerities to please him. Now, this is very interesting point if we look at these three verses combined. With his mind, Prajapati Daksh first created all kinds of demigods, demons, human beings, birds, beasts, aquatics, and so on. So please try to understand the consciousness here. See, in this world, we see so many fantastic creations, buildings, aircraft, ships, automobiles, so many types of constructions, or some fantastic sciences. All of this is a creation of the mind. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, they are existing everywhere. I mean, same earth exists everywhere, but you see some places, like for example, Sweden and Germany are famous for steel products, mechanical engineering, steel products. Japan, China, they're famous for electronics. So, see, the same earth, same water, fire, air are existing everywhere. But you see, for example, say countries like, say, African countries or even India for that matter are quite backward. But you can see, if you come to Europe, the whole place is so sophisticated. It looks like some kind of, Legoland or some Disneyland. So how is that possible? So it is just creation of the mind, Rajoguna. As Bhagavatam says, Tada Rajas Tamas Bhava. This is Rajas and Tamas Guna. So see, in this material world, predominantly everything is under Tamoguna. Everything is ignorance. But Rajas Bhava, so the Rajoguna exists because because of that, all the creation takes place. So people are fantastically intelligent. Srila Prabhupada was very impressed before coming to Germany. Prabhupada used to write, he said that Germans are the most intelligent people. He said that actually Germans are like better experts at Sanskrit than even Indians. But when Srila Prabhupada reached Germany, he was quite disappointed when he saw that Germans were so grossly materialistic. Once Prabhupada was in Berlin and they were moving around in Berlin, I think he was going to the airport and he asked this question. He asked, why are Germans so fat? So I think it was Hansadut Prabhu or it was Shivananda Prabhu. He said, oh, because they eat too much. So Prabhupada said, no, because they eat too much of pig. So Germany, China, they're huge consumers of pig meat. So this kind of intelligence this is certainly intelligence. I mean, you need intelligence to make products like aircrafts or ships. They are brilliant engineering. But if you see what is the final objective of that intelligence? It is just to enjoy bodily comforts. Flying an aircraft that doesn't require too much. Like, what is the end objective? What do you achieve by that? It's not going to solve the problem of birth, old age, disease, and death. It is not going to solve the problem of adhyatmic, adhidevik, adhibhautik kleshas. So all these distresses cannot be, mitigated by material manipulations. So Prajapati Daksh is actually also a similar materialist. So you can imagine the level of consciousness that he has, that he's able to create demigods, demons, plants, animals, and so many different types of creatures. Now, continuing the same point further, Prajapati Daksha is not a fool. He's an extremely intelligent man. As we are going to see now, he is going to execute the Hansa Guhya prayers. They are very complex, as we're going to see them very soon. Hansa Guhya prayers are not easy to understand. So Hansa Guhya prayers are practically like what we have studied in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Hansa Guhya prayers, he's going to render those prayers. So he's not foolish. And he's going to please the Lord. The Lord will appear in front of him. So how do we understand all of this? That in spite of having such level of intelligence, that he knows such complex creation. Now imagine one aircraft, one aeroplane like your Boeing or Airbus requires at least 10 to 15,000 engineers to design and manufacture. One single car requires at least 2 to 3,000 engineers to design. And here, so imagine, and these are just dead matter. You look at all the cars on the street and you take them for granted. Oh, I didn't buy a Maruti, I will buy a Toyota, or I don't like Toyota, I'll buy a Honda. Each of those cars requires thousands of engineers to design. And they're such complex marvels. If you just open the bonnet and look inside, you'll see the complexity of that engineering. If you don't believe me, just open your steering column and look at the little stalk which you push for your indicator. How complex that design is. And such design, and you just don't even think of it. Okay, I took an auto rickshaw, I took a taxi. You never even think how complex that design is. And that requires so many human beings. And here we are talking of living systems. How complex it is. Doctors, medical researchers are studying human body for hundreds of years and they're still not able to understand how these complex organs work really. And here we have Prajapati Daksh. He's able to design thousands of varieties of such creatures. You can imagine the level of his intelligence. And he acknowledges the supremacy of the Lord. And he even knows how to please him. Such is the level of intelligence that Prajapati Daksh has. But still, with that intelligence, he is not able to surrender to Krishna. In the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Gajendra is praying that Lord cannot be approached through the exercises of mind, words, or intelligence. So you see, intellectual ability is not a path to attaining the Supreme. Krishna is not Vedeshu Durlabha Adurlabham Atma Bhakto. If we have to achieve Krishna, then we have to do it through the agency of devotional service. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. So by loving devotional service, only Krishna is pleased, not by word jugglery or intelligence. So all big degrees, if that was the case, Einstein would have been the best devotee. Or all the physicists and nuclear or thermo or nuclear physicists or quantum mechanics, they must be all like Stephen Hawking. These should be the best devotees, but their intelligence is completely stolen. Maya apharta jnana, completely stolen by Maya. Maya provides them with more and more intelligence. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in Brahma Samhita that these big brilliant engineers, technicians and scientists, their knowledge is not coming from Saraswati Devi. Their knowledge is coming from Durga Devi. So this level of technical and scientific knowledge is a representation of Durga Devi. That's why even in India we see that big scientists, they're all atheists. Because Maya Aparita Jnana, Maya steals their intelligence. She fills them up with wonderful knowledge of this world. This so-called scientific and technical knowledge, what is it really? It's the knowledge of phenomenal world. That's why big doctors, engineers, scientists, they are atheistic, demonic. Because Maya fills them up with this knowledge and completely steals their intelligence. They are unable to see. They are unable to see the supremacy of the Lord behind this wonderful creation. They start thinking that they are the Lord. I have so much knowledge. Now I am so intelligent. It only boosts their false ego. And Maya Devi is doing this as a service because the living entity is egoistic. So Maya Devi supplies with this intelligence so that they fall down very quickly. This is what Srila Prabhupada explains. So that Maya, Durga Devi provides them with this intelligence so that they quickly degrade themselves. Their demonic, their venomous nature comes out very quickly and they fall down also. So we continue, text 22. Astau Shid Dhamsa Guhyena Bhagavantam Adhokshajam
Anuvanta adhokshadam.
Tubhyam Tad Abhidhasyami
Tubhyam tat avidhyasyami.
Kasya Tushyad Yatha Hari.
Tasyat yatha hari.
Yes. Would someone
May I
like to
read,
read?
Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
My dear king, I shall fully explain to you the Hansaguhya prayers which were offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by Daksha. And I shall explain how the Lord was pleased with him for those prayers. It is to be understood that the Hansaguhya prayer were not composed by Daksha, but were existing in the Vedic literature. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so as we were discussing, so you see these prayers are existing in the Vedas, and Prajapati Daksha knows it already. So Prajapati Daksha is now he's going to render these prayers to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we see, one may even be an expert in Vedic knowledge. Forget even Vedic knowledge, one may become expert even in Srimad Bhagavatam and still not be able to please the Lord. Vedeshu durlabha adurlabham atma bhaktao. Very important words. Adurlabham atma bhaktao. One who's rendering very personal devotional service. One who's bearing his soul to the Supreme Lord. So, you see, the words of so bhakti means you have to be very intelligent. Bhakti means you have to have a very high level of refinement. That's why, you see, Krishna is, Krishna is, Jivera Kalyana. He's always working for the welfare of the living entities. To set the best example for devotion also, he accepts the gopis as his best devotees. Why? Gopis are what? What are they? Illiterate cowherd girls. What is their position? So amongst the Vaishyas also, cowherds are the lowest class Vaishyas. They are practically Shudras. They're taking care of cows. And amongst them also, Krishna says in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Yepisu Papa Yonaya, Stri Vaishyas Tatha Shudra. Papa Yonaya, sinful species. So women are considered sinful species according to the Vedas. So he accepts the lowest class of Vaishya girls who are, women. Why does he accept them as the best devotees? Ramya Kachid Upasana Vrajavadhu Varagena Yakalpita. Why does he do that? Just to show that bodily designations have no consideration when it comes to surrendering to the Supreme Lord. On the other hand, there are greatest of sages who are unable to achieve Krishna. They see Krishna face to face. Jaimini, Kashyap, Charvak, these kind of sages, they're practically liberated souls. They do not suffer from Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi like us. They are in full control of their senses and still they are not able to achieve Krishna. We're going to see here in the example of Prajapati Daksha. He will please the Lord will appear, and still he'll not be able to appreciate the Lord. He's not able to appreciate the exalted position of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is no ordinary living entity. He is as good as Hari, but still Daksha has the temerity to actually insult him. And to the extent, he's so hard-hearted that he does it to the extent of even losing his own daughter. So we have seen that already in the 3rd canto, the death of Sati. So Prajapati Daksha is not at all concerned that his own daughter has died for the sake of his own pride and lust, as we're going to see. So you see, studying of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is also no guarantee that you will actually attain pure devotion to the Lord. Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are actually Shabda Brahma. And their study is actually meant to purify us, but that purification finally depends on our own consciousness. How much do we surrender? Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So upadekshanti te jnana jnanejas tattvadarshina. So many of Prabhupada's disciples also fell down. They became big scholars. They just studied Sanskrit, they became big scholars, and they completely left devotion. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, they are Nitya Siddha, they are Vaikuntha Purushas. They do not even belong to our category. They are even greater than Jesus Christ himself. But still, their disciples fell down. Advaita Acharya's own sons became atheists. Nityanand Prabhu's sons. They are the Lord themselves. It always depends upon the individual consciousness, the desire to surrender to the Supreme. That is what decides whether the living entity will advance or degrade. So you have to have that desire to know Krishna and to serve him. Bhajatam priti purvakam. Then Krishna will give the intelligence by which to come to him. Otherwise, he'll delude you. Krishna will cheat you even through Srimad Bhagavatam. You will become an expert speaker on Bhagavatam without advancing anything in bhakti. That's why one of the persons I know, he was an expert in Bhagavatam. He could memorize one volume of Srimad Bhagavatam in one day. Like imagine memorizing the whole of second canto in 3 days or 2 days. But today he's just some motivational speaker, speaks nonsense, complete nonsense. I mean, he has even degraded devotees. Devotees who follow him, who were good devotees, now they are also talking nonsense. So you see, one should not. This knowledge that we get of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's mercy. You know, Krishna is saying, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mattah smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna is giving this knowledge. If we feel pride in understanding Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, then Krishna will feed that pride. Maya Devi will take over. Then we'll know all the Sanskrit of the world. We'll know everything and we'll become nonsense. There's another devotee I know. He used to be quite sincere, quite sober. Then he took a doctoral degree in Sanskrit, became a professor of Sanskrit. Now, God knows he has married maybe second, third, or fourth time. God knows how many times he keeps a dog. And he claims to be an expert in Sanskrit in Northern Europe. Proudly. I mean, remember the first time I met him, he didn't even tell me his name. You know, people say I'm the best expert in Sanskrit. Well, it's like dog intelligence, you know. Dog is also like this. I am the biggest dog. How. So I am the biggest scholar. But where is bhakti? Where is devotion? If you see gopis, they are not reciting some Hansa Guhya prayers to please Krishna. They are not wanting to even meet Narayan. Krishna hides in the form of Narayan, and gopis are totally unimpressed. He appears as four-handed Narayan, and gopis feel totally unimpressed. Okay, you may be Haribol, you are the greatest Lord, you are the Supreme Lord, but please tell us where is Krishna. So you see, Gopi Bhartuha Pada Kamalayor Das Dasanudas, servant of the gopis. So we have to understand Uddhav, Krishna's own cousin. Uddhav was so beautiful. Uddhav's appearance was identical to Krishna. In fact, sometimes the queens would mistake him for Krishna. And he loved Krishna so much. Krishna was on familiar terms with Uddhav. But understanding that Uddhav's devotion is still not perfect, Krishna sent him with a message to Vrindavan. And when Uddhav saw the devotion of gopis, he decided to meditate in the soil of Vrindavan itself. And he still meditates in Vrindavan. So you can imagine the devotion of gopis. So try to understand the position of gopis. Try to understand the meaning of devotion and try to understand the significance of Srimad Bhagavatam. Why these pastimes are described here. Srimad Bhagavatam is Prema Shastra. It is love of Krishna itself. But you have to be intelligent to understand it. And you have to be humble enough to accept it as it comes. Surrender to the message of Bhagavatam and Krishna will reveal himself to you. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments from the last 4 verses?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, why are these prayers named as Hamsa Guhya?
Hamsa Guhya, that's the name.
Guhya means what is so Guhya about these prayers?
Well, you will see now.
It's already existing in the Vedic literature. It's given here. Means
Yeah.
it's known to many that way.
Yes. See, I can screw out some meaning of this word Hansa Guhya, but the point is, you see, what is Guhya is that these prayers, the purport of these prayers is very difficult to understand.
Achha.
These prayers are very easy in that sense. But the difficulty here is that by execution of these prayers, still one does not understand the love of Godhead. That is what makes it so Guhya. Bhagavad Gita, why is it such a great mystery? People become experts in Bhagavad Gita. They can recite it backwards and forwards and still not understand the mystery of Gita. That's the Guhya aspect. That even though one may execute these prayers, one will still not understand their purport.
And maybe Hansa means something like how
Hansa is the Lord.
Superior.
Amongst the
thing.
birds, the Lord is Hansa.
Like how the Hams is
Lord-
able to take the milk from the water.
Yes, the
That way it
essence
was.
of
Mm.
yes, the Lord. See, the Lord is what is Saragrahi Janardana. He takes, he Bhavagrahi, he accepts the bhava behind the prayers. So we see after executing these prayers, he'll give the boon to Daksha, and Daksha will become the greatest progenitor. He'll become Daksha. That's the meaning. That is what is Guhya.
Because it's otherwise, even for normal people like us, it's very difficult to pray, because the right words, the right everything has to be right when we pray to the Lord. So even
Yeah.
saying some prayers, that's why they say, we have to always repeat the prayers of Gajendra or Kunti Maharani like that. We are not able to even pray properly to the Lord.
Yeah. See, the point is we cannot concoct anything. I mean, what are we? We are full of four defects. Limited senses, illusion, making mistakes, tendency to cheat. So what prayers can we execute? Actually, our prayers are only directed towards our own senses. So when we follow in the footsteps, Mahajana yena gataha sapantha, when we follow in the footsteps of the great souls, then we are following in the right direction. Otherwise, so see, why are these prayers considered so important? Because these prayers are setting us in a particular direction. Gajendra's prayers, Queen Kunti's prayers. What are these prayers? They are exactly explaining how the Lord is to be approached. What to ask from the Lord. Gajendra's prayer, if you see, fourth chapter, 25th verse, where Gajendra says, I do not want to live in this body. What is the use of a body covered internally and externally with ignorance? So that is what we have to understand. Yes, our body is also covered internally and externally with intelligence. Externally, yes, it is covered with ignorance. Our body is like dull and, foul smelling and God knows what. And internally also, our consciousness is dull. We want only sense gratification. So Gajendra is praying for freedom from that. But when we pray, we'll say, oh Gajendra, oh Lord, please take care of my family. Please take care of my wealth. Protect my family and wealth also while you are protecting me. So you see, we are praying for our false ego. Gajendra is praying for the Supreme Lord. Gajendra says great personalities who are liberated, they delight in singing your glories. They do not want anything from you. I, however, am in danger. Therefore, I am requesting you to protect me. He's acknowledging. Gajendra is acknowledging that he perceives danger to his body, but he over and above that he perceives danger to his own consciousness. That I am praying to you to protect my body, which is so full of ignorance. So please protect me from this consciousness also. So this is how we understand the prayers. So that's why when we follow those prayers, when we meditate on those prayers, then slowly they enter our dull intelligence and we are able to perceive what we should be praying for.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So that means Gujarat prayers are not materialistic.
Well, that's
Because
the beauty. They start off as materialistic, but eventually he surrenders fully to Krishna. What is that final line, the final prayer he offers to the Lord? Narayano Akhilo Guru Bhagavan Namaste. That, my dear Lord, please accept my obeisances. Narayano Akhilo Guru, the master of all, I surrender to you. Bhagavan Namaste. So Gajendra starts off very basically. Gajendra glorifies the position of the Lord as the very source, as the very cause of the movement of this material body. Then he glorifies the Lord as a platform on which everything exists. He describes him as the master of consciousness, the origin of all creation, material and spiritual. He acknowledges that Lord cannot be understood by the exercises of mind, words, or consciousness, but only through the loving devotional service. And eventually, he also acknowledges that he is covered with ignorance and he's fearing great danger. But he continues. He doesn't stop there. He first acknowledges that he perceives danger from the crocodile. But then he also explains that danger is not only just crocodile. The danger is from the material nature, which is like crocodile. My own material consciousness, which is like a crocodile. So, my dear Lord, protect me from both. So, this is actually Gajendra's prayers are the most scientific prayers. You can see the way he develops his prayers from just mere protection of his body to eventually protection of his consciousness. And he achieves both because the Lord protects his body and he protects his consciousness also. He delivers first from the crocodile and then from the material consciousness, which is like crocodile. So when we look at these prayers, please try to evaluate, please try to think from the perspective of Krishna. It's very simple. You draw two boxes. Take a paper, draw two boxes. One is you, one is Krishna. Think of everything that you are thinking and, think this is from my perspective. What is good, what is bad. Then flip it around and look at how Krishna would see it. And try to think what would be good. And that would be quite revealing. You'll be quite scared when you think of it. Why should Krishna think about your wife or your husband or your child or your mother, father or money? How does that concern Krishna? But it concerns Krishna because it is concerning you. So Krishna is letting it all be there because that gives you peace of mind. So what should give Krishna peace of mind? Think from that perspective. And then slowly, however hard it may seem, try to think like that. Gradually, you'll be able to actually pray to the Lord.
Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So we stop here today because time is up. We continue tomorrow. We start with the Hansa Guhya prayers. So my request is please go through at least the first verse and its purport. It would be quite interesting. Mataji asked a question. You would find that answer in this purport itself. And I'll also
Yes.
give you a hint. You'll find
Sure,
it in the
Prabhuji.
second paragraph. So please read it through. You'll find your answer there.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai, Jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada.
Dandavat pranam.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.